And welcome to the Tuesday edition of the 60-minute love letter to local sports we like to call the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you, and this is all presented by our friends up at Toyota of Warren. Thank you to Tino and his whole crew. And of course, if you want to get into a brand new Tundra like us at YSN, make sure you head over to our good friends over at Tino Merlo and tell them YSN sent you and get it hooked up. And if you want to wrap it, if you want to look real cool out on the road this summer, make sure you go down to Campbell Signs over in the East Liverpool, Calcutta area. As Siggy will tell you, I'm not really familiar with all of the kind of identification and the self-identifying that happens down in the southern Columbiana County belt between Calcutta and Beaver Local and Rogers and East Liverpool, and what the difference is. Because East Palestine, it's like East Palestine and Negley, and like that's it. Unity a little bit mixed in. We just have an identification problem. We don't know who we are here in Southern Columbiana County. Can somebody help us? Can somebody please help us? But in all seriousness, if you're looking to get a wrap or any kind of signs or anything along those lines, pretty much anything that you can think of, our good friends down at Campbell Signs, and this is not an advertisement. They are not paying for this. The wrap just looks so good. It looks so good out on the road, and we get all kinds of waves, usually with 5 fingers, sometimes with one. Number one, going down the road. So make sure that you give local the love that it deserves. It is the Power Hour on this beautiful, and I mean beautiful Tuesday. And don't look outside because it's not that pretty, but I'm just telling you it's beautiful because you are what you make it, right? Today, there's not a whole lot to break down. There were no games that happened yesterday outside of one game. Orange was in action last night. I had no idea. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I got a text message from my good buddy Tim Porter up in Orange, and he goes, "Are we the only game on the network tonight?" And I asked, "Wait, you're playing?" And they played. God bless them. They played. But nobody else, I'm pretty sure, in the Eastern Seaboard played baseball or softball yesterday. So good for them. Kudos to them. And I don't think they have turf. So that's very interesting. So not a lot to talk about from the standpoint of local sports. There is one game on the agenda here this afternoon on the YSN realm of things. And I'm going to get to that here right now. It is, I saw green. There it is. Softball. It's Akron St. V's against Archbishop Hoban, and Matt and Jordan are going to take care of that for us. That game starts at 5 p.m. Thanks to those guys for picking up the slack for us. Today, I wanted to talk to you about, we hear oftentimes this ridiculous kind of sentiment in sports about unwritten rules. And I'm going to go over 20 unwritten rules with you, and we're going to kind of either debunk them or solidify them based on sport, based on kind of where we are in 2023 and how things are going with these quote unquote unwritten rules. Some of them are legit. Some of them we're going to kind of cut apart and dissect them and then put them back together and try to see if it flies or floats. So let's get it started with what happened to my unwritten rules, man? I just had it. The best unwritten rules. All right, so we're gonna go with the stupidest unwritten rules in sports. This is a list by Bleacher Report that they did in 2010. So it's 13 years old by itself. So when you're talking about unwritten rules, you certainly could be talking about ones that are a little bit dated. And I think any rule that is not written into the handbook is probably a little bit dated. And creativity has a way of kind of sparking itself and maneuvering around these rules, when then there's some people that just run right through them, no problem. And they say it's not in the rule book. There's no such thing as an unwritten rule. All right. So the first one, to me, one of the biggest ones that there are, never argue balls and strikes with the umpire. Very fitting for where we are today. Very fitting for where we are today because it's spring, we think. Um, Balls and strikes to me. Now, I was brought up obviously just a few inches in front of the umpire as a catcher. And the biggest thing that I was always told was a catcher can have a conversation with certain umpires about the strike zone. But a catcher's job is to learn the strike zone for the coaching staff, for the managerial staff. So that way you can report, you can work with your pitchers, you can tell them, hey, we're not getting the high call today. We're not getting the outside. We're not going to get the inside because every umpire's strike zone is different. Managers and coaches are told straight up, and it's kind of embedded as you become a manager or coach, that you are, quote unquote, not supposed to argue balls and strikes with the umpire. However, and this is a big, big however, what else is there to argue with the umpire if you're a manager other than balls and strikes? Everything else is reviewable at the professional level now. And I don't remember a game that I've ever played in that a ball or strike was, even in slow pitch softball where it is cut and dried. If it hits the plate, it's a strike. If it misses the plate, it's a ball. People argue that. And I don't understand it. If this is an unwritten rule, it is the worst unwritten rule in the history of mankind. Arguing balls and strikes, I don't think there's any umpire that firmly believes that this is something that will not happen on their watch. Every umpire knows they better be on their game and they're going to take grief as an umpire, as an official. You're only right 50% of the time, no matter which way you cut it, right? So from that standpoint, I don't understand why this is still an unwritten rule. Like this, don't argue balls and strikes. Listen, that is going to happen. And it happens every game, multiple times a game. So if you're out there and you're a firm believer this is an unwritten rule and this is what you stand by and this is what you hang your hat on, I'm confused. I'm lost. Now, I'm not always the guy that argues them, but I'm certainly not always the guy that thinks it's okay. Some of these are just out of control. You know, if it's a pitch right down the pipe and you're sitting there watching, buy a ticket. Don't worry about playing in the game. Buy a ticket so you can watch. People will argue it. And it's right down the middle, the heart of the plate. Center cut fastball. Pow! What are you talking about? That was low. What are you talking about? That was outside. You're just a dummy that didn't swing the bat. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And as a catcher, I ate it up. Loved it. Thrived on it. Love every second of it. To me, that is if you really think that is a rule that every baseball player, every softball player knows, then you're right, but you're sadly mistaken thinking that that's one that they abide to. That just doesn't go. The rule is dumb. The umpire is wrong. Players are wrong. You know, you look at it, some of the and oftentimes it's the quickest way to get ejected in a baseball game is to show up the umpire from a standpoint of balls and strikes. Leads me to number 19 on this list, no showing up an opposing pitcher after hitting a home run. Now, this is a little bit different, especially because this list is 13 years old. This rule is one that the baseball fanatics, the old timers, the people who grew up on the game in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they're firm in this rule. Don't show up a pitcher after you hit a home run off of them. Don't show any emotion, run around the bases, celebrate in the dugout. I understand it. However, in today's day and age, the showmanship adds a little something to a particular event, a particular game, and I can get behind it. The only reason, typically the only people who don't like it are the 9 guys that are standing on the field watching it happen to them. And that's okay. Because through this entire, growing up watching the 90s Indians, the 90s Braves, the 2000s where you had you had the Yankees, you had all these unbelievable, the Red Sox. Why I never understood, and somebody can comment and explain this to me. I've never understood while it's okay, or I guess let's start with it's not okay to show up the pitcher if you hit a home run or a walk-off or anything like that, or as the kids call it, pimping your home run. It's not okay to do that, but it's absolutely, absolutely okay if you have a strike three in a big moment that you're allowed to fist pump and talk smack at the opposing dugout. That's okay. I don't understand that. In a world where I've been told over and over and over again that it is a pitcher's world and hitters just live in it, and good pitching beats good hitting any day of the week, why it's not okay that if a hitter gets a hold of one and sends it packing, as our buddy Richie Giuliano says, you can, what is it? You can salute goodbye and kiss it. I don't know. He's so much better at that than I am. Salute, watch it fly and salute it goodbye. That's what it is. I don't understand why it's not okay that hitters get to celebrate milestones and moments and defenses do. That to me is kind of off the reservation a little bit. I don't understand that part. Sam chiming in says, might be my least favorite of all of them. You hit a tank, celebrate, pitcher, get better. Love it. That's it. And I'm not saying, hey, take all the celebrations out of baseball at all. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. I think baseball should be celebrated. To me, and statistically and scientifically, the hardest sport to play. You hit a round ball with a round bat square. So if you get one, as Sammy says, if you hit a tank, he was calling ding dongs out. I was a little bit nervous. He was talking about ding dongs on a Sunday night broadcast. I think you can celebrate. I think there's no reason not to celebrate. And in fact, I think that Siri doesn't understand either. But I think the biggest thing is being able to celebrate those moments. Like, this is sports. That's an achievement. You worked hard for that. All those push-ups, all those reps in the weight room. You worked hard for that. Now there's celebration and there's acting like a jackwagon, right? Like, you don't need to throw the bat 39 feet in the air where it comes down on somebody's head. But, I think that the majority of my friends will probably think of the same moment when I talk about that moment is Jose Bautista, Joey Bats, hitting that bomb in the playoffs and chucking that bat out of there. Listen, NBA players and players in college, they get teed up all the time. Do I think that there should be a technical in baseball with all the other rules coming in? Why not? You get teed up, the next hitter starts with a strike against them. Who cares? That's fine. Whatever. That's fine. I think you'd see a little bit more of the, okay, it's kind of like hockey where they police themselves a little bit. I think you could do that. Instead of knowing that the next time that guy goes up to the dish, he's going to wear one in the ribs. I guess that's a way of policing yourself. I'm a big fan of policing yourself in sports. All right. So this is a good one. Every single time since I was probably knee-high to a grasshopper, which I'm not much taller now, there was this, every time somebody gets hit in baseball and softball, some guy, some person, some teammate is accountable, and it's almost they have to say this. Don't rub it if somebody gets hit. You get hit, almost immediately somebody's going to say, or multiple people are going to say, don't rub it, because you feel like if you rub it, you're showing the pitcher that they hurt you. You're giving them a little bit of justification. But if you don't rub it and act like nothing happened, that you're tough. Until you get in front of your mirror later that night and you you wear one in the ribs, right? And there is a ginormous, huge black and blue mark that is like 7 different shades, and it spreads out. And then all of a sudden people are telling you, now listen, this was a trick of the trade. If you want to look like a real badass, when you get bean, or you catchers, you catch it in certain points, the thigh, things like that, combing it out. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying that this is going to help or hurt the affected area, but it does spread it out and make it look like you're a bad mamma jamma. I'm just saying, I once had the inside of the thigh on a foul ball, and you could comb it all the way down. You use a comb and you comb it all the way down, and it affects the entire leg. It looks like your entire leg's black and blue. And I don't remember hurting the entire leg, but it just spread out those blood vessels or whatever the heck it is. Don't rub it. That, to me, it's not unwritten rule, because sometimes, and I remember, and for anybody that is a connoisseur of local baseball in the last 20 years, you'll remember the name Brett Siebert, Columbiana pitcher, ended up going to Tennessee, one of the Tennessee schools down south to play baseball. Still, I think to this day, one of the best pitchers in the area for a long time. Started his freshman year, and he graduated 03 just like I did. Stud pitcher. Stud. Somebody on the team was talking trash. I don't know who. I can't imagine. I think they were number 31. And in that game, it was probably 35 degrees out, like a day like today. We played back then because you had no other choice. And Brett Siebert put a ball between the 3 and the 1 on this particular player's back. And the bruise was like this. And it was a straight fastball, and it peppered this guy, whoever it was, so hard that when he got home, the mark was bigger than a softball. And you didn't need ice because it was so cold outside, but man alive, did that hurt. But did the trash talk stop? Oh, no, sir. Oh, no, it did not. We kept on going. Don't rub it. 17 is players can't date cheerleaders from their team. I think this is a if you've ever watched Replacements, you've seen this, where the cheerleaders don't they don't date football players or whatever. Sammy's saying, oh, guilty almost every time. Yep. Don't rub it. He's that guy. The next one being players can't date cheerleaders. That's probably more of a maybe college or pro rule. So we'll skip that one. High school, no. Date all the cheerleaders you'd like. Oh, this is a good one. No falling asleep during a game. This is a true unwritten rule, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you're out there and you are, listen, we're all tired. Especially you hit that mile marker 35, as I like to say, in the marathon of life. Your warranties start, expiring. I'm telling you, all you people who are laughing at me, and we remember, my generation remembers when Dad used to fall asleep right before dinner, right? And we would all be like, what is wrong with that? And now you're Dad, and you're falling asleep before dinner, catching a little cat nap, trying to get a little bit of energy back from your day because it wears you down. Don't fall asleep at a game. Do not fall asleep at any sporting event, because number one, you are like flowers and bees with any media that's around there. The cameras will find you if you are falling asleep, if you are zonking out. And now everybody's got one. So it's not just, oh my gosh. Look at that. I'm not even tired. And I'm thinking about it and I'm putting myself to sleep. This is incredible. What kind of idiot puts himself to sleep on his own show? Unbelievable. This is crazy. Yawning, though, and maybe you guys can help me out as I take this down a rabbit hole. I don't know anybody that can watch somebody else yawn. And I'm thinking about it right now, so I'm trying not to yawn. I don't know anybody that can watch somebody yawn and not do it within the next 2 minutes. It is one of the most challenging, second only to sneezing with your eyes open. So the next time you see somebody yawn, I don't know what it is. It's contagious, but it has nothing to do with proximity of where you are to the person. And somebody probably yawned after I just yawned because they saw me do it. And I'm trying again not to yawn right now. Like you get that feeling before you yawn. I'm trying not to. Fighting through it. Do not fall asleep, especially on your own streaming broadcast. That is an unwritten rule. Number 15, I've never heard this one. You can't tell a teammate he sucks or she sucks. If that's an unwritten rule, I missed it because I've told plenty of teammates that they suck before. Because sometimes you just have to tell them. And some teammates have told me that it's not your day. You suck. I think girls are a little bit more kind with this. You hear the chatter, you hear the songs and the chants while they're up at the plate, or you watch a girls' basketball game, and if a girl's having a tough night, they're getting high fives on the base or on the as they head to the bench. If they're high on fouls or something like that, they're getting high fives. You just watch this. Watch this. Notoriously, boys and men, if you're having a rough game, you're not getting much love. They're going to let you know about it. Guys are absolutely spiteful when it comes to this stuff, and probably something they should be better teammates. And I'm among them. Guilty as charged. Run 100%, just like Sammy. Hands up in the air. But I will tell you this. That never hurt my feelings. It never hurt my feelings when one of my teammates or one of my friends told me that you suck. Because then you have to have an honest look, right? You look at the stats, you look at your game, you go, man, I don't know that I can back that up. I don't know that I can dispute that. And then you get better. You got two choices. You can hear it again the next game, or you can get better. And a lot of times you look at it and you go, I'm just going to get better. So I don't necessarily subscribe to the unwritten rule that you can't tell your teammate that they stink or they suck. Number 4, and these must be all baseball. Are they all baseball? I'm going to double check this. This was supposed to be all sports. It's kind of frustrating. It's supposed to be sports. So far, it's all baseball and softball. Back down to 14, where no attempting to distract opposing fielders while they're fielding. That is blasphemy because every single player does it. And it goes up through the ranks. Pros can talk about it all the time. It is what I've seen it on major leagues. I've seen it. For us, it was always, if a player made an error, you yell boot, or you say something about a pair of boots, or if there's a pop fly, for some reason we yell tree. Everybody's got something different, and I've heard it even as much as this year, as late as this year. It happens. It happens. And again, this list is 13 years old, and I remember doing this 20 years ago in high school varsity baseball. So I mean, I know for a fact, and Quinn Pushkar's told me, and I've had other players tell me that in basketball, there's times where you unlace somebody's sneakers. You pull the cord while they're at the free throw line. I mean, you do everything to distract your opponent to gain that advantage. I'm calling Bunk City on that one. No, this is timely. Number 13, you have to be well-dressed for your draft. No jogging suits, sneakers allowed. You have to look good when you're about to be paid lots of money. Why do you think those poor WNBA players force high heels and sequin full-length dresses on? Again, their words, not mine. I don't think we're living in that era anymore, especially because a lot of these guys and gals are being drafted from the comfort of their own home. So you saw a perfect example during this year's draft. You saw a young man who didn't get picked night one, and he was dressed to the nines, come back on night two, that Friday night, and he was dressed in a varsity jacket, if I'm remembering correctly, and jeans. You have to be well dressed for your draft. I think that is no longer the case here a decade and a half later. So yeah, that one's out too. We're kicking that one out to the curb. Don't talk to pitchers during no hitters. Whew, okay. Let's chat about this one. We got this. Mark says the old "you got room, but they don't." Yep. 100%. Foul ball. They head over towards the dugout. You got room. You got room. They fall down the steps. Now, you're not hoping anybody gets hurt, but you have to have some self-awareness. And it's not the opposing team's job to make sure that you catch that baseball. Just saying. I mean, again, sports aren't always fair. They're not always genuine, but they're always fun, right? They're always fun. Back to not talking to pitchers during no-hitters. Now, this one we can tango with because we have a rule during broadcast that we don't talk about no-hitters when no-hitters are happening. Now, if you want to talk about it, I'm trying to think. First, second, third inning, you can talk about it. That's not a big deal. But once you get to the fourth inning in a 7-inning game and nobody has registered a hit, our broadcasters are told, Zippo. Do not address it. You can reference it. You can dance around it, but do not call it out. This one they're talking about is essentially saying, if you are in the dugout, do not tell the pitcher he's got a no-hitter going because you're going to jinx him. I can get behind that. And a lot of times I never, as a catcher, wanted to know. I mean, of course, you know if they're hitting you pretty good because you feel that in your bones. You feel that in your soul. But if there's a hit or there was an error or something like that, as a catcher, I didn't care. We're calling a game, and we're not going to discuss it. There was a pact there between the pitcher and the catcher and everybody else. You're not going to discuss it. And if they're on, they're on. Even if it's not a no-hitter. Maybe it's a one-hitter. Maybe it's a shutout. You're not talking about it. You're just backing your pitcher, letting them do their thing, and you go right to the bat rack and try to back them up. But I know this is true, and I don't know that it's an unwritten rule anymore. I would believe it would be. But yeah, that's 100% one that I've heard of, and I've never been part of a no-hitter, but we've always followed that rule. Number 11 is never talk about the money when signing a contract. That, I think, is a rule not just in sports, but in a rule across business, is if you sign a contract and you're talking about sponsorships and things of that nature, or you're talking about money being exchanged hands, you don't necessarily talk about the details of that with people that don't need to know. And I think that's important. It's an important part of who you're, because money, no matter how much, when you associate a dollar sign to anything, it changes the way you feel. It changes the expectations. It changes everything about that partnership, that friendship, whatever it may be. So take this out of as we're going to take a break here in a second. But when you assign a dollar amount to anything, keep that close to the vest, right? If you go out and you get a great job, 6-figure job, 7-figure job, keep it tight. Be who you are, right? And people will appreciate. They don't need to know. The only people that need to know are the ones that probably will, which is your family, and not even times your extended family, but your immediate family, your wealth advisor, stuff like that. Anything else is just bragging. It's tacky from that situation. So I think that goes across all of contracts. It's not just when you sign a contract to be an NFL player, a baseball player, or whatever you may be. So let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the unwritten rules here on YSN. What are your unwritten rules? Are there any that you live by within the sports realm or otherwise? Put them in the comments section. We'll talk about them. That when we come back, and we'll get your local weather forecast. And again, only one game happening tonight, so you don't have to worry about too much. We'll be back right after this, after word from our good friends over at Toyota Warren.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour, proudly presented by Toyota of Warren. DJ with you, and we are breaking down some of the top 20 unwritten rules according to Bleacher Report. Number 10, we'll get to 10, and we'll break it down, and then we'll just go straight through them all, and you can tell me which ones are bunk, which ones are legit. This one, I'm going to need your help on. I'm going to need a push one way or the other. No signing with your rival if you were hated by the fan base. So let's break this down. This one is more about the fans than anything else, it says. Red Sox fans did not appreciate Wade Boggs, Roger Clemens, and Johnny Damon when they went on to play for the New York Yankees. If Kobe ever signed with the Celtics, Manning with the Patriots, Jeter with the Red Sox, or Mark Ingram transfers to Florida, again, 2013, the earth would stop spinning. So basically what it's saying is you're not going to go sign with or you're not going to transfer to a school or whatever that may be if it's your rival school. So Ohio State is never going to transfer to Michigan, Michigan never to Ohio State. Those are the schools, right? But we're seeing this more often than I think ever. And I think a lot of that was broken down in money talks for a lot of it, right? Joe Hayden of the Steelers. Sammy, I'm gonna challenge you on that one because I feel there wasn't a Browns fan on his side by the time his Browns career was up. And the Steelers thought that he had a lot more left in the tank, and he certainly did. So I'm going to challenge you on that one, my friend, because that. Now, I will tell you that James Harrison, when he went to the Patriots, was a dagger in the heart of all Steelers fans, even though he wasn't playing. He was on the Steelers and wasn't playing. But I don't know. I think that's all gone now. I think that's all just evaporated because you look at, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Some of these players that, grow up on opposing schools and are supposed to be ultimate rivals, they're yucking it up. If one of them gets a single, they're talking to the first baseman as if they're best friends, and they might be best friends. We don't live necessarily in the days where you're, doing pranks to each other's schools and things of that nature. It's a different day and age now. And I think there's this whole like unity thing, and, we can't be mean to each other, or we can't play jokes on each other because somebody might get hurt or get their feelings hurt for that matter. It's just a different world. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's just different. It's just different. Probably can tell by my face. I'm not a good poker player. I think it's just fueled by people's disgust and that they that he played well too. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you at all. All right, next one, number 9 is we're gonna skip over that one. You can check that one out if you want. Stay away from teammates' wives. We've all seen Major League. That's all I'm saying. Don't steal a base when, this is a good one. This is a good one. You don't steal a base when down a bunch or up a bunch. Unless your name is Ricky Henderson, of course, and you have records to catch. This is the reason why the Marlins hit Nyjer Morgan and it led to a brawl. Marlins third baseman Wes Helms summed it up by saying, "There's nothing good I can say about someone who doesn't play the game right and the right way and doesn't respect the integrity of the game." We had to show we weren't going to put up with it, and that's how he was treating us. Okay, so I'm sorry that I'm going to put this one out there. I'm okay with it. You're up a bunch or you're down a bunch and you're stealing bases. If they're going to let you have the bases, take them. Take them. At the varsity level. That's my only precursor, or I guess postcursor in this chance. I don't mind it. If it's JV, if it's Little League, if it's, Okay, I do. I have a little bit of an issue with that, especially if it's Little League, especially if it's like youth, like 10U. If you're stealing up 10 or you're stealing down 10, come on. Do it while the game's on the line, right? If it's a varsity level, no problems. I've got no problems with it. You got to stop people. Stealing when down shows that you are still trying to win. I can see when you're way up. What's way up though? Like, is 10 way up or is 20 way up? Is 5 way up in some cases. And in a 5-0 game, if you're still stealing bases, no problem with that. If it's 15-0, typically you're not going to see it. Typically the guys that are starters aren't going to be in anyway. But it's the same way with shooting threes when you're up 30. Like, if that's your game, why are you changing your game to make everybody else feel better? Like, if you're a base stealing threat and it's your job on the team, your role is to steal bases, and they walk you, and you're on first base and your team's up 14 runs, steal the base. You're doing your job. This is what you are supposed to do. The pitcher is supposed to strike you out. The defense is supposed to get you out. So steal. And if they want you out, they'll get you out. I don't have any problems with it. I don't. When you're down, you're still, like Sammy said, you're still trying to win. You're trying to get back in the game. You're trying to find a spark any way you can. So if stealing a base creates a spark that gets you back in the game, I don't have a problem with it. And if you're up 14 or 15-0 and somebody's stealing on you, throw them out. Pick them off. I don't know why people get upset when this is occurring. That's one that is an unwritten rule that I think is dumb. You can throw at a batter once, but not twice. Somewhere in the world, Sarah Lynn Yoakley is smiling and rolling her eyes at the same time because she's heard the story I'm going to give to you a zillion times. Let's rewind, shall we? Get back in the time machine and go to the year 2003, senior year, last baseball game ever played in a Bulldog uniform. Our pitcher was upset at a young individual from the opposing team because he was batting left-handed and he was a natural right-handed hitter. A young, handsome, smart catcher trotted out during a timeout to the pitcher's mound, 60 feet, 6 inches away, put his glove over his mouth so only the pitcher could hear what he had to say, and said, "This one's on me. Get him." Catcher turns around, puts his mask back down, trots back behind the dish, throws down the old number 1, but not the index finger. And that pitcher threw at the hitter low. We weren't throwing at the head, but we felt disrespected. When you bat in the other batter's box and you're not a switch hitter, you might get one in the knee or one in the ribs or one in the back or one in the ass cheek. Oh, butt cheek. Sorry. Butt cheek. So I love this. Sammy's listening intently, trying to understand, trying to break down my mentality, but he knows what's going to happen. The pitcher completely missed with that first pitch. Completely missed. Back to the backstop it goes. Jawing happens from both dugouts. The catcher's laughing, picks up the ball from the backstop, tosses it back to the pitcher. I throw down The catcher throws down an outside fastball. We catch a strike on the outside corner because everybody's worried about getting hit. Then a warning somehow a pitch later ensues because we threw it up, not in, up. And a warning comes out and the umpire says, if you hit him, you're gone. You're out of the game. Coach comes out, tells us, don't throw at him. If you throw at him, you're suspended. Okay. The pitcher and the catcher agree. We go they go their separate ways. This is tough. This is tougher than you think. A pitch later, the middle finger goes down. Throw at the hitter. The hitter gets it in the knee. Starts barking on his way down to first base. We had an extremely large first baseman who didn't eat meat. He was a vegan, but he ate a lot of macaroni and cheese. And that we were told, at that moment, we were told we broke the golden rule of baseball is you never throw at somebody twice. The umpire, funny enough, the umpire was getting ready to eject said pitcher, and the pitcher said, kept shaking his hand and said it slipped out of his hand perfectly to hit him in the knee. I don't like this rule. I should take that back. I like this rule and I don't like this rule. If you're going to throw and you're going to hit somebody, hit them on the first pitch. Hit them on the pitch. If you're whatever intended pitch that you're trying to go at this person with, make sure that it counts because you only get one shot at it. Because whatever happened precursor to that pitch probably happened in one shot. So you get one chance, one opportunity. Don't blow it. Don't let it slip, Eminem. But being in that situation before, you got to make the most of your moment. You got to make it. It's a rivalry game. It's that, if you feel disrespected, to be honest, if someone's disrespecting you and they don't want to get hit at that point, get over in the other batter's box. It's as simple as that. Play the game. You play the game and so will we. You tried to send a point. We tried to send a point. That's sports. That's competition. That was there's a lot of people right now that are like, man, what a jerk that catcher was. Number 6, don't argue with fans. Now, this is an unwritten rule. This is one that actually should be written, to be honest with you, because I don't think we saw this happen a few weeks ago, I believe, in Anaheim. It was Anaheim. That a player was on their way back to the locker room or somewhere. They were out amongst fans. I think it was Anthony Rendon. And a fan leaned over the railing and was shouting expletives and calling that person a certain name. And Anthony Rendon reached up and smacked him. And Rendon got suspended for it. Here's my thing. I get it. Not interacting with fans. If you just, you've got to be the bigger man or better person in that moment and just keep on walking. But let's face it. We all know that we all have bad days. And when someone gets up in your business and someone's talking, what is a grown man calling another grown man who he doesn't even know personally, on a personal level? What is he doing? Utilizing expletives and calling him a certain name that is emasculating. I don't understand that. Don't think I ever will. We all have that little bit of caveman in us, right? From that standpoint. And women will say we will never get over being, some form of a caveman. I get it. It's we all have that little bit of in us. But you've got to fight the feeling, pal. You've got to fight calling a professional athlete that is probably in the way better condition than you are and then expecting nothing to happen. Like these are not circus monkeys. They're not there for entertainment. They're there for a profession, and we bought a ticket to be there. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to go to these games, and you're going to shout out and, pretend like he's something like, come on, man. So yes, I agree with number 6. Don't argue with the fans, but fans shouldn't argue with players and athletes either, especially high school and youth athletes. That's a no-no. Never onside kick went up by a lot. Disagree with that. If there's an onside kick, which I think the statistics are 95% of the time is recovered by the receiving team, you get better field position. So you should be encouraging teams to be onside kicking when up a lot so you can get back in the game. Number 4, never laid down a bunt to break up a no-hitter. That is true. You will end up with stitch marks all over you. I'm noticing that all of these are like baseball unwritten rules. Everywhere else has just regular rules that you have to follow. Don't celebrate after an empty net goal. That's dumb too. Usually an empty net goal means that you sealed the deal. That's in hockey. If you're going to tangle, or if you're going to dangle, this is a hockey thing. So I'm learning. If you're going to dangle your gloves, you can't sucker your opponent into getting in a penalty by faking like you want to fight. Hockey is one of those sports where if you don't honor unwritten rules, you might get hurt. Plus, no one would respect you if you did this. So if you dangle your gloves, means you want to fight. And you can't just goat somebody into it anymore and expect them to get a penalty. So interestingly enough, hockey, better than any other sport, polices themselves. No shooting at your own basket. Years ago, Ricky Davis wanted a triple-double, but time was running out, so he shot on his own basket. Jerry Sloan looked like he wanted to kill him. I say a triple-double is hard to come by if you're Ricky Davis, right? That's not unwritten rule. That's just stupid. Like, why would you shoot on your own basket to better your stats but worsen your team's? That's dumb. That's just stupid. That's ridiculous. Not sure if it was said, but no swing on a 3-0 count is the dumbest of. Oh, that is a good one, Sam. Not swinging on 3-0. That's going to be the best pitch you see, most likely, during that at-bat. I'm a huge jump on the first pitch guy because you're going to see a lot of first pitch fastballs to get ahead in the count. But 3-0, oh, man. I licked my lips so much I needed chapstick. It was feeding time at the OK Corral. It was, whew, I was ready to go. So, yes, that is the stupidest unwritten rule. Second only to not shooting on your own basket because you want to get a triple-double. That's dumb. Those are your unwritten rules, and that leads us right into our bow tie we do at this time every day. It is the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by our good friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Eric Carlson and the boys. Anything commercial, anything residential, anything industrial, anything electrical. Make sure you go over to dickyelectric.com and get lined up today. Once again, the Dickey Electric, Joe Dickey Electric, What's Your Spark? Presented by our friends at Joe Dickey Electric. All right. Train whistles still spook me. It's days like this that are interesting. So there's one thing that bothers me probably more than it should. And as a parent who drops their kid off, it's the pickup line. It's the drop-off line at school. And I don't know if it's just ours, but I feel like I've heard this before from other parents, so maybe I'm not crazy. There are unwritten rules in the drop-off and pickup line that are absolutely tossed to the side, wrangled and wrestled every day. And it's simple. If you're the first in line, you pull up to the absolute first spot, whether it's by the door or not. Listen, timing is everything, is what they'll tell you. And if you're too early, maybe you got to drive around the block a few times to get that perfect spot or just off that perfect spot. But if you're batting leadoff in the pickup line or drop-off line, you don't get to call the shots about where you set up. Secondly, if you get out of your car to take your child to the door, which is great, you don't and shouldn't stand there for 10 minutes to make sure they not only get in the door, but into their classroom, and every other child in the school gets into the building as well. If you are in line, that means that there are people behind you and probably have to go to work. And every minute that you're waiting, and God bless you, I want your child to be as safe as you do. Every minute that you're sitting there waiting, they're late for work. Because kids have to go to school, but their parents oftentimes have to go to work. And we're not trying to get a babysitter for 10 minutes so they can drop our kids off at school. So with all due respect, if you're in the pickup or the drop-off line, just abide by the rules, abide by common sense. That's all we're asking. That's all. That's it. That's all. It's it. Chef's kiss, as Sam says. That's going to do it for our show today. I hope you guys had fun. One game on the network tonight, St. V's versus Archbishop Hoban, 5 o'clock. You can catch it right here on YSN. Until tomorrow, I'm your friend forever. I'm DJ Yoakley, and we'll see you. I love you. See you tomorrow. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network.